Welcome back to the Clearshot Podcast, where we talk to businesses about why they started a podcast and what they've learned. During this process, I've learned that you can never predict which client is going to come through the door next. When I started this studio less than 2 years ago, I didn't foresee that we'd be in a room with national security specialists, colonels, US ambassadors, and a bunch of other people with titles far past my pay grade. But as today's episode with Mr. Todd Crowley of the Optimised Podcast reveals, all sorts of organisations can benefit from a podcast. Mr. Todd Crowley, Optimised Podcast, thank you very much for being on the Clearshot show.
Thanks for having us, Nick.
Mate, we do these... I do this show because it's absurd for me to not have one when offering the product. When you've gone through all the hard work of putting one together, I feel like I should be going through the hard work as well.
Mate, I'm sure you have gone through all the hard work. It's, obviously with the service that you offer and what you've built, I'm sure you've done all the hard work with all the planning and understanding the bits and pieces you want to have in there. You
got to sit down and you got to put something nice on. You got to get your words out right.
That's right. Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about your podcast? Why did you decide to start one?
Yeah, thanks, Nick. So, look, our business is a fairly complicated business to explain. A lot of people say to us, "What do you do?" And my response is often, "Well, if we don't got it, you don't need it." So essentially, we solve critical problems in critical industries around the world, and we use data analytics, we use software, we use human factors, human intelligence, and also AI to help solve commercial and operational challenges for everything from a not-for-profit organisation to defence clients, health clients, critical industries. So,
but they're all big topics, they're all overarching, right? So I imagine when someone comes across your business, they often sit down with you and you have to have the same 10 conversations until you find the thing that's really that's critical to them. Is that right?
That's right, yeah. So that's that relationship piece as well. So there's only so much you can garner from a website inquiry form. It's really about getting to know someone and understand what their real problems are. And in doing so, that takes time, obviously, and you can't always cover off on all the right topics. So with the podcast that we decided to start, we did a little bit of research, spoke to some people in the industry, funnily enough, who you had worked with in the past in television, Jill Whiting. She recommended you highly. And I wasn't disappointed from day one when we walked in here because we were trying to get across a complicated message. It's not like selling cups or chairs. What we sell are solutions. And again, solving critical problems and complex problems of significance. So, mate, when we first started the podcast, we weren't too sure exactly how to structure it. And that was, without pumping your tyres up, Nick, that's where you really helped us to understand how to get a message across. So before we started, working with you and your team and also some external advice from our internal marketing team was around, well, let's just have some casual chats with subject matter experts within our sphere, within our community of practice. So they're mining CEOs, they're very senior political leaders, very senior defence personnel. And so what we try and tease out in these conversations, they're not really direct questions about, tell us about what's happening in the Middle East or how you solve this. It's really sitting down, having a chat, seeing what little gems come out of the conversation, obviously trying to keep it on path, but we use that as a tool to then enhance our other marketing efforts. So whether it's then posted on social media, our social media platforms, we use it as links to send to clients to say, hey, have you thought about this? I spoke with a fellow who was a critical mineral miner. I understand you got a similar problem with some environmental concerns in wherever it might be, and that's a way to engage as well. So we use it as an engagement tool. More so than a factual information tool.
Your first podcast was with 6 people on the...
I think 5 in total, yeah.
Five people in the room, inverted commas, and it was... which is great because I do say to people, your first one's not going to be as good as your 10th one.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
But it is a great way of sitting down, And you talk about the things you always talk about anyway, and those conversations are valuable to someone. Just a matter of them finding it is the tricky bit.
And that's right. That's that next step, right, as to how people find it. But that was a great experience, that very first podcast. Yeah. So we had Ray Powell, who's a Indo-Pacific security expert based in the US.
Yes.
Former very senior Marine. Matt Ort, my business partner in the US, former US Naval attaché here to Australia. He was in the US.
And he had the kids online at the same time.
That's right. He had the kids online. I was sitting here with Paddy, and we had Pete McChrystal.
2 in the room, and Pete McChrystal, possibly the nicest bloke ever online.
Mate, and a voice for radio too, hasn't he? It's very calming voice. But I remember that, because my thought process was get all these big brains to start talking about stuff. And that was very exciting.
The stuff that was in that conversation was great. It was just we had to work out how to...
That's the thing. And I think, and your advice was probably a few too many people, and you're right, having a look back at it. I think it was really good advice because everyone had something to say and wanted to contribute to the conversation. But then you're stumbling over each other a little bit. Now, those guys, they've got the brains the size of a planet. Funnily enough, some of the feedback we received on that was around from someone who, a very senior defence member in Canberra. He said to me, mate, people are listening.
That's great.
People are taking note of what you're saying. So that was really good feedback. And I think the validation is, the experience that these people have had in the region doing some pretty amazing things. So, and I think then that brings a bit of validation to our brand as well.
So can I go back a touch and just talk about how, like internally, what were the conversations like when we decided to start something? Was it, I'll go buy a bunch of gear? Was it, I'll Google how to start a podcast? What was it like within your organisation? Well,
we were pretty lucky in the fact that our marketing lead, Milan, he'd done quite a few of these in the past. Of course, there's always self-doubt when people talk about podcasts. You go, oh, no, I don't want to be centre stage. And what does a podcast actually mean as well? So what investment is required to start a podcast? So our first point wasn't to go out and buy a whole lot of kit. It was about, okay, well, let's find the right partner. And my first call was to Jill Whiting. God bless her. And she said, hey, give Nick a call. So obviously did a bit of research. And we had a chat to say, hey, Nick, what's involved in doing these? And mate, the way you stepped us through this, again, not saying this because you're sitting here and I'm on your podcast, but the way you explained the process was calm, relaxing, seamless. It all made sense.
So when it comes to recording your particular podcast, we just provide the studio and the equipment, and then we give everything to your marketing guy, Milan. Then your team edit it and launch it on podcast channels and socials. What's the communication like within your team to get that content out there?
So it's interesting. So the process for us is that, like you mentioned, we'll come in here, record. You give us the files, or you give the files to Milan. He then goes through the recordings, and he'll understanding, what we say. For example, we say, let's say we're talking with Matt Hughes from Aspen Medical, so one of the world's leading experts on in-field care, medical care. So we'll say, look, here are some of the key points that we really want to get across in the podcast, so beforehand. So we'll sit down and work out what are the key items we want to talk about. Understanding that obviously we're not doing a hard sell, but what do we want listeners or viewers to remember us by and remember us for, to pick up the phone and go, hey, I want to talk to you guys about something. So that communication process starts with a fairly clear structure on what we want to talk about. Then he'll listen and look for some really key points that might have been discussed. And then we'll work out, how to tie that into external other marketing campaigns and platforms as well. And then what we also do is really communicate closely with our guests, because they often have their own marketing teams, big marketing teams. So Aspen, as an example, have got, I think it's like 200,000 followers on LinkedIn globally. So we then work closely with their marketing team to say, hey, this is coming in the pipeline. Do you guys want to have a look at it as well? Any suggestions or changes you'd like to make? Bang! Here's the launch date. We post it on our socials. We put it live onto the various YouTube channels and all the other mediums for posting it, and they do the same. But then more importantly is measuring, when it's successful, who's looked at it, who's viewed it, who's listening, working out how to change it for next time if need be.
That all sounds like a lot. Does that become a lot of a workload for you personally?
No,
Great.
no.
That's exactly what I needed. Because the how much of a task is this for me?
Yeah.
So for your business, yes, of course, I know you're involved with choosing who's going to be on there, that meeting that you've had with Milan to make sure that you've got it clear in your mind, but also the rest of the team know. So what are you putting an hour into that, half an hour into that?
Probably half an hour.
Yeah. And then the recording.
Yeah.
So an hour or two of your time there.
Yeah.
So you're getting three hours of your time goes into creating this show.
That's right.
And then the rest is done by someone like me.
That's
or
right.
Someone who is better at that.
The experts. Well, that's it. And there's an old saying: you don't have a dog and bark too. And we're like with your business. Where are you most effective? Are you most effective editing? Are you most effective doing invoices? Well, I'd say not.
Yes.
You're most effective as the chief salesperson.
Well, that's the other way I want to go with this conversation is how have you gone putting yourself out there, being more of the face of the business? How's that worked out for you?
Yeah, so I guess like any business owner, and I'm fortunate enough to have partners as well, but like any business owner, it's your brand, your baby, and you really protect that brand, and you want to position it correctly as well. The amount of comments from people who I wouldn't have even expected would listen or watch it just when you're in a conversation, it's been amazing. So and positive.
Yeah,
I've asked. I said, give me the real feedback. Give me some negative feedback. Whether they're just too polite.
But it's just you're doing something. You're doing more. You're putting yourself out there. You're trying to get these messages heard.
Yeah,
and hopefully they come back in a way that not just is positive, but equals something at some point, right? Like, hey, I saw this, and now I have this question. Yep. That is valuable, right?
Well, I can tell you, I think one of the biggest forms of validation and flattery was I was approached by someone I've known for a long time and worked with for a long time and have a lot of respect for, but just hadn't spoken for a little while because we'd both been busy with our respective businesses. Tim Walmsley from Bench On, he reached out to me a couple of weeks ago. He said, TC, can I be on your podcast? Yes. So that to me is validation. And Tim is the defence industry expert in Australia, hands down. Yep. He's created some amazing products. Now, for me, I was like, I got a little bit of a shiver and thought, it's working. Because in the early days, you think, how many of these am I going to do before I either get sick of it or it's going to, there might be some other burdens that stop you from doing it. But I think you really gave us the launching pad and the framework on how to do them. And the confidence to be able to do them and keep going. They don't take up much time.
And you enjoy it?
Love it.
Do you get any professional development out of the conversations as well?
Oh, every conversation you have with someone new, even with people in our business, like Paddy Hallinan, as you know, Colonel, former head of plans for General Petraeus in Iraq. A very smart guy, currently doing a whole lot of work in Hawaii with the US. Every time you speak to Paddy or every time you speak to someone new, it's like, I didn't know that.
Yes.
And so you're learning something new, but you're getting professional development as well. How did they handle this situation? And so you're always sort of thinking about that. And, they're great ways to communicate with people. And we find it as well. And what we say to our guests is, yes, it's good for our brand, but it's also could be good for your brand as well. So that's another way to help them sell something or promote something that they're trying to achieve as well.
One of the ones that I've got down here that you guys do, you do some remote and you do some in person. How are you going with remote conversations versus in-person conversations?
Yeah, look, the in-person conversations, without a doubt, there's so much value, much more benefit. The challenge and the reason why we do remote ones is the timing of our guests.
Location.
Location. Yeah. So we've got guests in the US, we've got guests in Taiwan, we've got guests, in the UK. Yes. So it's often hard to, get them in a room. But also it could work out, as an example, their schedule might be, hey, I've got an hour, but I've got to be going from here to here. Can't make Milton. Can we just do it remote? Sure.
But are you finding you're pointing people to it?
Yeah, we do. So when we do meet people and they talk about it, and especially if it's a topic of interest that we might be talking about at an industry forum. It's like, hey, jump on this. Good thing about technology, just jump on your phone, send them the link, have a look at this.
I find there's so much value in that.
Yeah.
Here is something that I think you'll find interesting.
Yeah.
You know that I have a podcast
because
we're chatting about it.
Yeah.
But here is that piece of content that I think you personally will find valuable. Has got...
Mate, it's funny you say that. I was talking to a colleague in the US the other day. We were talking about a client we'd been speaking with for a long time, and hot and cold. They want to go, then all of a sudden cold. And the question was, how hard should I keep pushing them? I said, send them a link to one of the podcasts, because it's then about them. It's not about a hard sell, but it's really about, hey, you might find some interest in this. So give them a little bit of something as well. And, it's not like you're sending them a box of whiskey or something like that, but it's people find information valuable rather than, the gold watch or the box of whiskey or whatnot. So, and that works. And it helps forge that relationship because you're not pushing.
I thought about it, and I think you'll find this valuable.
Right.
I hope
exactly.
you appreciate it. Yeah.
Exactly right. Yeah. And plus also it's the message versus the messenger.
Yeah.
So you got someone else that you're talking to who's the subject matter expert.
Yes.
It's not like me going, hey, I'm the subject
I
matter.
know.
Oh, I know. Yeah. This person does know, and here's their bona fides. Yeah.
And here's my relationship with that someone.
That's right. It's so valuable. Yeah.
So how has having a podcast changed your company's presence on social media? I assume you have a lot more content to play with now. What did you have in place before the podcast?
Look, our business has changed a bit over the last year or so. So we had a pretty big team, doing that. But I found it was very same old. Mm-hmm. Post something on LinkedIn, post something on, Instagram, post something on whatever else it was. Wait. Hang on, that's not really a good strategy or a good tactic there. It's also, I find, show, don't tell is something I always say to our clients and our team is, and whether it be in a tender or whether it be in a presentation, like no one likes to read, a lot of words, say it quickly, like TikTok have got it down. That's fabulous. Yeah. TikTok or Snapchat or whatever, they are quick bites of information that get people engaged. So we don't do any other, we do a couple of posts here and there, but at the moment, all we do is the podcast.
Yeah, our clients often talk about how having a podcast solves that issue of not having things to post about. It's an excellent way to start generating a lot of content.
Mate, 100%. Like you may or may not remember the episode or two we did with Colin Gunn from Toll.
Yes.
And so on something that's very topical, which is uncrewed systems, so UAVs and whatnot.
Uncrewed systems, you mean? For people listening to my podcast, you mean drones?
Drones, sorry, mate. Drones. Yeah. And they've got some amazing technology, and theirs is really in the national security space. So they're not delivering cups of coffee or anything, or Domino's pizzas. But that is still to this day the highest rating episode, so to speak, that we've had. The engagement has been amazing, but as you said, there was a couple of hours of content there which touched on quite a few different things, which we could get little snippets, and even for some of our clients in defence and go, hey, consider this, have a look at that. And so you're not having to...
And then, because you're in this space of providing solutions, I imagine quite often it'll be like, I know that this will work for you, but here is someone explaining it better than I can explain it.
100%. Because I'll get back to that, and it's the problem we've always had is... Because we're not just an accountant, we're not just data analytics specialists and data scientists, which we do, or software developers, or network architects, or strategy specialists. If we don't got it, you don't need it. What does that mean? And we've always had trouble explaining. Well, what do you do? Well, we solve problems. We help organisations grow. What does that mean? Have a look at our podcast.
Yeah. Well, thank you for solving a few problems with me now that we've solved everything. Mate, I really appreciate you coming on.
Nick, thanks for having us, mate. Really appreciate your support too.